It's Wednesday, February 25th. I'm talking to Katherine Giroux-Bougard, who is the National Chair of the Canadian Federation of Students, or CFS. CFS had an unpleasant surprise a couple of weeks ago when the federal budget's implementation bill was brought out. What was the surprise that concerned you?
Well, what we noticed is that in Bill C-10, the budget implementation bill, there was basically a crackdown on students that was in the bill under changes done to student financial assistance. So that wasn't discussed prior to the budget or on budget day, but it appeared in the implementation bill.
What is the nature of this crackdown?
Well, what budget implementation bill does for student financial assistance is there's stricter penalties for students who, for example, put false information on their Canada student loan application. So there's much heftier penalties and I guess stricter. Basically stricter penalties for either financial or for their future entitlements with the Canada Student Loan program for students who do such actions.
What is the problem with this approach in your view?
Well, we definitely don't condone students falsifying information on the Canada Student Loan program. But what we do have a problem with is that this legislation really only looks at the symptoms of student debt rather than the root cause. And the root cause is that there's a number of students who desperately need funding to be able to access post-secondary education who are not, and the current system is basically failing them. They're not being able to access post-secondary education at a time when it's basically a requirement for the workforce.
Did the federal budget do anything at all to address the lack of access for students, particularly students with financial problems, to higher education?
Well, what we noticed is, this budget was touted as a stimulus budget, and we were hoping to see some measures to really help students be able to attend post-secondary education, and especially at a time when a number of people are being laid off and are turning to university and college to retrain to retrain for the new economy. What we saw is basically silence when it comes to student financial assistance for students.
How serious is the condition of most Canadian post-secondary students in terms of financial obligations, how much they owe, their student debts?
Well, on average now in Canada, and it depends widely on provinces, but what we've seen is as a result of increases in tuition fees in the past 15 years, average student debt now is about $25,000, and we marked an regrettable milestone on January 21st when money owed to the federal government through Canada Student Loans reached $13 billion. And that again is only federal, owed to the federal government, not to the provincial governments or private debt.
Have you done research or studies or been hearing from students about what the cost of higher education is doing in terms of access? Who's being prevented from going to school?
What we've noticed through research is that people that are in lower income brackets are much less likely to attend post-secondary education as people that are in higher income brackets. And what we've also noticed is that people that do access post-secondary education and that start carrying debt are much more likely to drop out before the end of their studies than people who don't have the same large debts.
And I guess these are the kind of symptoms that you would rather have seen the federal budget address.
Well, it would have definitely been, I think, good news for students if the federal government had really tackled some of the underlying problems, which is underfunding of our colleges and universities across Canada, and underfunding and student financial assistance for students. We see tuition fees on average are rising every year, and are almost on average $5,000. Again, it depends very widely on the province, but what we've seen is they're almost reaching an average of $5,000 across the country.
Thank you very much for your help today, Katherine.
Thank you.